would like to start out by giving the comfort to the audience that as far as the financial sector is concerned, the State Bank has taken a lead. And they've already rolled out, environmental and social risk management framework. The implementation is supposed to be done in 3 years, but at least it's a step in the right direction. That framework has been prepared in line with the IFC guidelines for ESG, and it revolves around effectively penalizing while incentivizing the borrowers as well to become more environmentally conscious. So every industry will be given a rating, and based on the rating, the pricing will be determined. And that's how effectively they'll be penalized. If they're not complying with this, then the pricing will be higher. Otherwise, the pricing will be much more attractive for them. So it's actually a very good policy in the sense that it kind of falls in the middle of both incentive, carrot and stick, as we call it. The other thing, Bajo Sahab, that we need to look at, and I'd be very happy to be part of it, with you only, we worked on this Naya Pakistan certificate, a concept aapko yaad hai, at the National Savings. It came from there. On the similar lines, this is the right time to look at the sovereign ESG bond, compliant bond. Interestingly enough, the market is, by the way, for ESG, compliant bond is enormous. We're talking about over $1 trillion. And out of that, if I look at a couple of countries which are very active there, are India and China. They both put together, they raised around $12 billion in the past decade. And usme se bhi jo interesting cheez hai is the fact that $2 billion is raised by the sovereigns. Now their need for sovereign funding is not as urgent as in our cases. So perhaps it's the right time. And इस वक्त जो है ना भाई साहब, हमारे एक एडवांटेज ये भी है कि वो सिंपैथी वोट भी हमारे हाथ में। वो सिंपैथी वोट तो हम कभी छोड़ते ही नहीं हैं, हम जहाँ मौका मिलता है फौरन यूज़ करते हैं उसको, बिकॉज वी आर द बिगेस्ट विक्टिम of global warming, which has been established fact now, and this is the right time. We need to push it. We need to go out there. There is funding available. It's just that we need to package it right, approach the right people, and take things on from there. That will help us in meeting lots of our current account, external account issues. Similarly, the public sector entities, particularly one that I'm heading up, the oil and gas company, and the power sector, they need to step up. And my recommendation, Bajo Sahab, would there be that perhaps there is a requirement under the law, 1973 का जो हमारा rules of business है, that public sector entities, federal public sector entities require approval from the Ministry of Finance before opening any LCs or any foreign currency requirements. It's been there for a while. कोई recent नहीं है, please don't misunderstand this. It's been there always. Perhaps one of the options could be that the Ministry of Finance could incentivize that you go ahead, raise your own funding, and then we'll let you provide you the dollars equivalent of that for your own requirements for the year, and rest you can give it to us for future requirements of yours. Entities like OGDC, WAPDA has already done $500 million, by the way. But I think the potential is much more than that. And abhi humne dekha in the case of this Mangla Dam also, there was an opportunity there too. So the public sector entities must have to step up, and some kind of to my mind these are low-hanging fruit. And if we can, this is actually double-edged. एक तो double edge in the sense के double benefit for the government. एक तरफ तो they will work towards the ESG compliance piece. On the other hand, they'll be able to raise the funding for the government as well and for themselves also. Private sector has already been talked about. See, both are very socially conscious companies, Angro and PepsiCo. So I don't have to say much there. However, our private sector as in local private sector people needs to step up. They needs to move forward. उसमें बाजवा साहब again मैं फिर आपकी तरफ देखूंगा उस मामले में. The problem is that वो carrot and stick वाली भी बात कर रहे थे. I think some kind of fiscal incentive needs to be looked at. I completely appreciate that there is an element of a constraint on the fiscal side also. Nevertheless, if we somehow package it in such a way that without compromising on our existing targets, we'll just incentivize for the future plans, and thereby we'll be able to provide some kind of tax incentives to these projects. That'll go a long way in terms of coming out with private sector which is more conscious about of ESG's value and compliance also. The requirement is so substantial that and for third world countries like ourselves are the biggest sufferer of when the disaster happens. I was looking at the disaster for the Punjab alone. We're talking about 37 billion rupees in which by the way is a smaller piece. Punjab is a much smaller piece in comparison to Sindh and Balochistan. 2010-15 the total was 36 billion rupees. This time round it's much bigger in magnitude. There is an estimate which still has to be made public. I think it's $32 billion. This can't be done by the government alone. It has to be, we all have to collectively move ahead and work on this. And to be honest with you, ये जो audience सारी बैठी हुई है, मैं तो कहूँगा आप लोग ये demand करें. You start asking for this. For example, मैं सबसे पहले अपने आप को उस कठेरे में खड़ा करूँगा that bank with that bank which is more environmentally conscious. और ये मेरे ख्याल से बहुत important element होगा कि एक pressure आप लोगों की तरफ से आना चाहिए for the future generation, for your own health and safety. There is a climate related disaster. You are again catching mode of developing and recreating, restructuring the same infrastructure. So might as well, this is the time to start working on creating the infrastructure which will be resistant to all these potential disasters. So the idea is to move away from disaster to disturbance. Floods तो आने इस तरह की situation है, and we've seen कि वो World Economic Forum की report है जिसमें 75% of the people by 2025 will be living around the coastline, and we are talking about the increase overall in this disaster related to floods and all. It's very important that we start preparing for it now in order to then make sure that our growth continues to 5%. Vakar sahab, 5% of the GDP is actually wasted because we are not environmentally compliant. Global, which is a humongous number. A country like ours, तो पूरा का पूरा GDP उसमें निकल जाता है. So with that thought, let's all work together from disaster management to disturbance management. Thank you very much.